Welcome back to Small College Conversations. I'm Kristen Eargle. Today, I'm joined by Brandon Perry, Johnson University's Director of Athletics. Thanks for being a part of us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
There's a lot of fun things to talk about. Both
Mm.
men's and women's basketball teams made the tournament for the first time. Talk me through some of that. Breaking some record. I know the season has come to an end, but now that you're kind of able to step back and reflect a little bit, a former head coach there yourself,
Right.
how do you best envision taking advantage of some of this momentum?
Yeah, I think right now, I think what we want to do, the biggest thing is we're just trying to build everything the right way. And we are all about development of athletes, and we want to make sure that we're getting exposure, but we're getting exposure for the right things. Like this is not just about wins and losses for us. It's about something much more, something much deeper. That we actually think athletics is this vehicle for development. And that's what it should be when it's at its best. And we've all seen it at its ugliest, which is all about winning and how it consumes. And we don't want to be that. So right now, what we're really focusing on is just finding places, avenues to get our name out a little bit, and but also to get it out saying this is about something deeper. Not just winning, it's about community. It's about your growth as a person, and we're going to win along the way.
Let's talk spring sports right now. As we record, your baseball team is ranked number 19th nationally. Softball also off to a great start. What's key in supporting some of those sports?
Yeah, one has been similar to what we did with basketball. We went and got great coaches. So bringing Dave Serrano over, who was the last head baseball coach at the University of Tennessee, he's really changed the culture in a lot of ways. 2 years ago we were a 5-win team, and here we are now sitting ranked 19th in the country, which is unbelievable. And a lot of that has been just Dave's approach to again, doing things the right way and pushing our guys to be better, helping them to believe in themselves. That's been a huge part of it. We also saw the same thing. Dana Carter is in year 4, I believe, with the softball team, which came over a team that was really, really struggling. It's only a few years. It's only 5 years old. Period. It's a newer program. And last year, she's one game from going to the national tournament, was coach of the year in the AAC, also a former Tennessee coach. And that has been huge. It's just getting the right people, plugged in and doing the right things. And then we started bringing in recruits who bought into that vision. And a big example of that is we're looking at both teams who have higher than a 3.4 GPA.
Wow.
Which is, for us, is super. We're proud of our academics here. We have, I think it's a 3.31 overall GPA in athletics. And that's tremendous. And that speaks more than just getting smart kids. That's speaking towards creating environments where coaches push them to be excellent in all things, not just in sports. It's like, you take care of your business in the classroom, you take care of your business in the community, and just do it all the right way. And for us, that's probably been the thing that has been, we've found the most success in. And we're doing that in multiple sports. Soccer, both soccer teams had their historic year this year, the best year in school history. Our volleyball team also our best year in school history. Golf is off to a good start, tennis as well. And so we're seeing really good things because of the culture.
Definitely. Okay, so if you think about the scope of college athletics right now, a lot of change, and
Tons.
you have yourself navigated a lot of change in your life in terms of you were a head men's basketball coach there, and then you had a dual role for a while, right?
Yeah.
And then so I have so many follow-up questions to this one question, if I could just narrow it down. But talk me through some of that. Back out a little bit, you were part of changing to NAIA. So can you kind of walk me through like that process, and looking back now, what'd you learn through it?
Yeah, change it's an interesting thing. A lot of people don't know this. My background is actually in ministry. And I was a pastor for 15 years, mostly as a youth minister. And one of the things you learn working with teenagers and college students, specifically through the church, is change is going to happen. And being flexible is extremely important. So I've always just had this ability to like kind of go with the flow a little bit and not be afraid to make some daring leaps, I guess. But I think, as we moved into this role in athletics, and really ministry and athletics are very similar. It's a people game, and it's about connection with people. And as we started making that change, I think the good thing was that we had spent time playing NAIA schools. As the basketball coach, I had played almost all the teams in our conference that we moved to and knew that we could compete. It was convincing others that we could compete. That was a big thing, biggest challenge I think we faced. And then just figuring out from a resource standpoint, as you know, when you are making changes in levels, it also means there is a change in the way you just function and the way you operate. And getting on an NAI level and how we operated was probably the biggest challenge that we faced. And we're still doing that. I tell our athletes constantly, this is a building project. We're a startup. Yes, we have had athletics here for a long time, but we're doing it with a little bit different purpose and a little bit different passion than what we've had great athletics in our history, but it's still different, and when you start competing against scholarship schools and what all that means. So for us, the operation of this and how we function, how we do game days and doing them well, that was probably the biggest challenge and still our biggest challenge.
Yeah. Now you won a national title as a head coach.
Yeah.
So I know I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about that type of thing, backfilling your job and going down that route. But before that, I want to talk to you about, were there some specific things, both men's and women's basketball, that you made maybe some investments that have paid off? Did you tweak anything from an administration side?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing we did was we made our roles full time. So obviously I was the basketball coach before I came on as a part-time coach in 2018. When I transitioned to being the athletic director, I moved to a full-time role then, but I was serving two jobs. And it is really hard to coach well and do the administrative piece. And we made that work because I had great assistants. I had great people around me that helped to make it work. After winning the national title, I lost both of my assistants, and then we made the jump into NAIA, and it was a big step up for us. It just, over time, we realized, one, that model wasn't going to work anymore. And especially from my family, my wife's a doctor at UT Medical. I have two little kids who are 10 and 6. And I'm trying to do this AD business and on the road all the time. It just didn't work great. And I loved coaching. But the biggest thing we did is we were able to pinpoint quality coaches and make them full time. So going and getting, Brian Lahan in women's basketball was the first in those two, who was a phenomenal coach. And then we brought in Coach Logan Sharp, who was actually a Knoxville guy. And those two had just hit it off. But we were doing that even before. Coach Dana Carter came over to fill our assistant AD role and became our women's softball coach. And she was really one of the things that started our whole movement. She was a former assistant at University of Tennessee, and then also was a pitcher at University of Oklahoma. Wow. And she's done great things. So that's been the biggest changes. We have seen, if you're going to coach and you're going to coach well, a big part of it is just developing kids, right? Like investing in them. And it takes time, and moving our coaches into full-time roles has been a slow process, but one that's been well worth it.
For you, you've been an AD now for 6 years. How much growth have you seen in the past 6 years, especially for enrollment and the overall scope of everything?
Yeah, from an athletic enrollment standpoint, it's been huge. I took over with, we had 12 sports at that time. We had 145 athletes. We actually subtracted a couple of sports. We cut men's and women's cross country and men's golf at that point, and then grew to 240 athletes. We just brought back men's golf. So we had this like huge amount of growth inside of athletics. That has been huge, been really good. And a big part of that from a competition standpoint, we needed the depth. Our rosters just weren't, we had great kids, great students, but we needed more depth. And that was been a huge piece of it. And then we saw as we started in that recruiting process and we're moving into NAIA, and it took a while to convince the people who weren't believers in what we were trying to do to understand this. We knew that once we got to this division, we got to pinpoint recruits. And so what has been shocking for most people, our GPAs went up. They actually went up a lot over the last couple of years. And everybody thought that, oh no, they won't care about academics, they won't have the ministry mindset. We've actually seen all of those things increase and have been way better than what they were before.
You mentioned something earlier, which is you made an investment in the basketball programs to make the coaches full-time. And the first thing that popped in my head is he had to sell that to someone to make a bigger investment, right? And put that, so you're either fundraising or you're going to the university. So talk to me about building alliances across campus. I know you had a president change not too long ago, within a year or so? Yeah. So you're year one. Talking about building relationships. I know this person, President Overdorf, was on campus already, but doesn't mean you know him very well. So walk me through building those relationships and then obviously asking for money.
No, actually, this whole thing started with Dr. Tommy Smith, who was our president previous. So in 2018, he comes in as the president, and his big thing was, we're going to do athletics well. We're going to do everything that we do with excellence. And he was committed to that. At that point, I was actually his first hire as the president and came in as the athletic director. So him and I had this really great relationship where, he was supportive. I actually consider myself super lucky. I've been in a lot of gyms. I've been to a lot of athletic events. And I dare say that there isn't a president on any campus who've been to more games than our two presidents have. And they don't miss, so that in and of itself made the sales really easy. I didn't have to come and convince either one that what we're doing is something of value. They already believed it. So Dr. Smith specifically, we're from the same area in Upper East Tennessee, so we're good old Tennessee boys, and we're
that is a good thing. I'm a West Tennessee girl. I tell you, the accent comes out even more when I'm talking to somebody from the same state.
Yeah, absolutely. But he had this belief in athletics because he played. And that was a big deal. And then we transitioned into Dr. Overdorf, who's also a former basketball player here. So he understood a lot of what we were trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish, and understood, most importantly, the power that athletics possesses to help men and women develop. And that's ultimately what we're about and what we're trying to be about. So financially, it's always hard, to convince somebody like, hey, we need to spend this money and the investment's going to come back. But I've been very fortunate to have two people in my corner with that and who've really supported us all the way.
Talk about your communication flow with your president. I mean, I know this is kind of nitty gritty, but for someone might be watching this right now that aspires to be an AD, it's kind of wants to have a few tips. How do you establish that, and kind of what's your workflow like when you have some things to bring to your president?
Yeah, ours is fairly informal, to be honest. And so I'm very lucky. I've been able to build a relationship where I can go to my president's office fairly regularly. And anytime that I have found myself in a situation where I don't know what the answer is, I've been able to text them and say, hey, we need to talk about this. And fortunately, they have been very open to allowing that conversation and that dialogue to take place. So for me, that has been extremely, extremely lucky. And then the other thing has been, and I learned this, I think, from being a coach. I never wanted to recruit I just wanted to keep my integrity. I think a lot of coaches get into recruiting specifically and they think, well, I need to tell the kid what they want to hear in order to get them here. And they we've all, if you've been around athletics, you know what this is like you tell a kid a story and they get there and it's like, no, that's not what it is. Right. For me, that was so important. So I really developed this passion for just being blunt when it came to athletics. And in a lot of ways, that's the way that I have operated with my president is you may not like what I have to say, but I want to say it because it needs to be heard. And they do the same for me. And that has been a huge thing, to just be honest with them and upfront. And I believe we've built a relationship where, we come in with this idea. I have no problem saying, here's the downside. Yeah. Here's the issues that we see, and allowing them to make that decision based off of what is the pros and cons.
All right, you mentioned it, downside. Everybody has challenges. What keeps you up at night? What are you facing right now that you're kind of navigating?
Honestly, the changing landscape right now in recruiting has been the thing that has worried me most. Some of the rulings that have come out in the last few weeks and what that looks like for an institution like us, the NAIA level. What's going to happen now that these kids are getting JUCO years back, and what's going to happen now that NCAA are giving NAIA years back, and the implementation of NIL. It's really hard for small colleges like ours to compete when someone's not only offering a full ride, but full ride plus, So how do we go in and create these environments to where we keep the kids that we have? We've been fortunate. We don't have a lot of transfers.
You don't?
No, we don't. And that's been something that we've done really well. And it's because we focus on our environment and say, all right, you're here. We're going to love you. We're going to take care of you. You may not like everything that we do, but you will know that we care about you. So we don't see, as far as other institutions, we don't see that many transfers, but I do worry about that. What's that going to look like now when so much money is on the table? So that for sure keeps me up at night. And then just navigating the finance part of this, and what does that look like for our future? Things have just gotten so expensive, and what travel bills look like and what scholarship models look like now. It's just so different, even from when we transitioned in 2020, 21. It's just changed so much, and so figuring out how to navigate that landscape is probably the thing that concerns me most.
Do you ever think about, okay, if this happens in the national perspective, this would be our response, or this is sort of how we could counteract that? Or do you sort of go, there's nothing we can really do about it, we'll figure it out then? I mean,
yeah, we do. And we talk about it often with our coaching staff, and especially this recruiting, these recruiting rules. It's really consumed our conversations the last few weeks. I mean, we come out of basketball right now, both teams very good, and we're seeing phone calls already starting to come in a little bit, and trying to get some of our players to transfer. I think, though, more importantly to us is we have to stay grounded in who we are and what our mission is, and for us to be a place of development. Because I think most student athletes, they're going to choose the environment they want to be in when it comes down to it, not just what's shiny, what's not, what gives them the most money or the most opportunity. It's about environments. And what we want to do is create a culture that people just want to be a part of. And if we can focus on that, continue to expand our game day approach and what that looks like, I have no reason to doubt that we can't give someone a D1 or a high D2 experience, even here at the NAIA level.
And you think about that, obviously it's driving revenue, and part of your role is finding those resources. You are 10 miles from the University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
So you have a little bit of competition in the area for trying to get sponsorships and things like that. So not exactly an easy place to be planted, right? Yeah. Where have you found the most traction in that area?
Yeah, no, I honestly, for the first few years, I was pretty bitter about being this close to Tennessee. I would go to a business and start talking, and they, before long, they'd be like, "Yeah, we support Tennessee, and that's where our money goes," and that's just what it is. So we've had to change some approaches. It's a lot more relationship based. It is the one thing we've seen with NIL kind of sneaking in is that we're starting to see more donors who are interested in something like what we do, not as interested in paying athletes, but more interested in contributing to projects that will change the experience for an athlete and help to develop them. So that's been our new approach is all right, we're going to go to these donors, we're going to talk to them, and we want to just help them say, hey, there's something different out there. And we've also embraced the Tennessee thing. It used to not be that way. We kind of ran from it and hid from it a little bit, but it's okay that Tennessee's in our backyard. And we've had some huge advantages because of it. We've got 3 former Tennessee coaches on our staff right now. And that has been a huge win for us because they bring that D1 commitment to just doing things the right way and new perspectives that we didn't have before. So that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to be able to partner in that way.
How do you measure success of your teams?
It'd be easy to say it's with wins, but I truly believe this. I'm kind of repeating something I've already said. I think winning is a byproduct of environment. It just, for us, it isn't about how many wins and losses it is. We're not an institution. We're watching right now on social media, all these coaches are getting let go and fired and moving on. That's not who we're going to be. Instead, we want to be a place that takes a more measured approach to success. How do we go about winning, not just on the field or on the court, but in their lives? What are the changes that are taking place? We're seeing in a culture that we live in, student athletes who are coming to us with a lot of hurt, and I just think that our coaching staff can play a vital role in making something whole in their life that was broken. And for me, that was the experience I had in athletics. I could shout out John Dyer, who was my basketball coach, who I coached with for 6 years. And, when things were hard in my life, I knew he was there. I could show up at his house and he would listen. Still to this day, I mean, he still calls me on a regular basis and we talk because that's what coaches do. So for us, it's success is going to be measured by how our student athletes impact the world and how they make a difference. And obviously we do that through the framework of Christ, but also in the framework of just being good humans, community contributors, in this world. We want that more than anything.
You have won a national title as a head men's basketball coach.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went into leadership on the administrative side, athletic director, and you had the ability to hire coaches, I'm sure like the first time you were like, this is what I'm looking for. Because I can tell you right now as a coach's wife, I'd be like, this is what you need. This is what you don't need, right?
Yeah.
Did it impact that having been in that role? And what couple of things are vital to you when you're looking at hiring a head coach?
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard, especially when I went to replace myself. That was a
Yeah.
pretty awkward place to.
Especially since you were so
to be in.
successful.
Yeah, and I think more importantly, we stuck to our mission, and we stick to this idea of who we are. We wanted coaches who were going to be developers first, and who were going to invest in our student athletes. So we've always stuck to that. But then I think also from a coaching perspective, when I play, and this has been the vision I've had, I've told almost every recruit this. You get into these pitches, you have 2 or 3 lines, and,
Right.
and one of those was, when I played in college, specifically, at times it felt like a job, and I never wanted this to be a job. This is a game, and it should be played with joy, and it should be fun. So I wanted coaches who will push our players, who push our athletes to be better and to compete, but also could do it with joy and positivity, and not just run athletes down into the ground. And so that's always been important to me. We wanted to create family environments. So I told every recruit, if you can't love my 2 kids, don't come. That was just part of our environment. Not because my kids are the most important in the world. They are, but they're not as far as our athletics is concerned. But because I wanted that environment that you have no reason to love those 2 kids who are just running around on the court, but you did it because it's the right thing to do. And so we wanted this family-oriented environment. And then I think lastly, I wanted coaches, and it's probably the most important thing to me, I want coaches who want to be here. Mm-hmm. And so we tend to look in the Knoxville region first. I wanted people who are going to be in Knoxville and care about our city and care about its development and its growth. And we've been fortunate to find a lot of those, in this area. It is the advantage of being 10 minutes from Tennessee and 25 minutes from Dollywood, right? We are in a good area where there's a lot of good athletics, and we can pull some of those good coaches in that sense. So that, I guess those 3 things have been the biggest thing for me, is just making sure, especially I want to be a part of Johnson and its growth, because we see big things for our future. This has been good. It's been great to get the exposure. It's been great to all of a sudden have our name on things, but we're not done. And we're not where we think I told a lot of people early on who thought I was crazy for making this transition. I was like, don't measure us today. We're going to lose a lot of games right now. Measure us 5 years from now, and let's see where we're at, and then we'll talk. Well, next year's year 5, so we're going to see where we're going to be at. But right now, we just think that this institution, it could explode and do some really great things, and we look forward to that.
Okay, you led me to my question exactly, which is, what are those strategic priorities coming up? What is your vision for what's next?
Yeah, I think we want to keep building on what we've got, and obviously we want to win, and we want to do things with excellence. That is the initiative that Dr. Smith laid out before me when I took this role, and Dr. Overdorf continues to lay out, is we want to do things and do it the right way, because it puts our university on the map. We think we have something special, not just in athletics, but as a university as a whole. And we know that growth is coming for Johnson University. So, but then I think also we want to continue to focus on our revenue streams. That's probably the biggest thing that we're looking at. We were very fortunate in our history. There wasn't a lot of fundraising in our past. And that sounds like it would be a negative, but to me, it's opportunity. And because we haven't been there and haven't done that, and haven't had to rely on it. So that's the next steps. I also think we are looking to add sports in our future. We're in the process right now. We're hoping to be able to get cross country and swimming both off the ground in the next year to 2 years. Looking for coaches currently if you're someone out there looking for a job. But we're we want to be about 350 athletes. To us, when we look at the ROA and NAIA, the schools that are doing well are about 350, and somewhere around like 15 to 20 sports. And that's probably where we're heading at this point. We want to do it the right way. We want to do it slowly and make sure that we have all the details done. But I think that's the next steps for us is, continue to explore revenue streams and help our institution with its growth by adding sports.
Brandon, it's been a joy to get to talk to you, and continued success.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.